Innovation and creativity are the buzz of the day, and in many ways, rightfully so, because we need more of both in this day and age. The economy of tomorrow is one that is driven by both innovation and creativity. One slogan puts it simply: innovate or die. So it's not a surprise that these two words are buzzwords of the day, but often they are used interchangeably. However, they are not the same. So let's demystify how these two relate to each other. Both innovation and creativity are a process. And in the simplest sense, creativity is the generation of ideas, concepts, and solutions, whereas innovation is taking those ideas and turning them into viable products, experiences, or business models. If innovation is fire, then creativity is wood, meaning creativity is fuel for innovation. This means that there is no innovation without creativity. But you can come up with creative ideas and not turn them into innovations. Let me ask you a question. If an innovation falls in the forest and there's no one to buy it, does it make a sound? I say it doesn't. The reason is innovation requires adoption, meaning people must want it and find it useful. It has to solve a real problem. In this sense, an invention that is sitting on the shelf in a garage that nobody wants is just that, an invention that nobody cares about. But it's not an innovation. Innovation implies solutions to real problems that are shared among many people and that satisfy real needs. A good way to look at innovation is through the three circles of desirability, feasibility, and viability. Desirability and usability address the human need and answers the question, do people want it or need it? While viability addresses the business need. That is, can you make money out of it? And feasibility addresses the question, can it be done? Is the technology available? Do regulations permit? Do we have the necessary resources and ability to execute? So innovation is the intersection or convergence of these three dimensions. There are two main types of innovation. One is known as incremental or evolutionary innovation, while the other is known as disruptive or revolutionary innovation. In incremental innovation, the focus is on continuous improvement, whereas disruptive innovation is more radical and introduces completely different approaches to solving a challenge. Innovative companies use a mixture of both incremental and disruptive innovation to sustain their growth. One is not better than the other, and they both feed off of each other in a spiraling whirlwind of creativity. An excellent way to understand innovation and the difference between the two innovation types is by introducing the S-curve. The S-curve is the life cycle of an innovation. Like life itself, it has a beginning, a middle, and an end. So an innovation starts out in infancy, goes through a period of growth and development, and then reaches maturity or old age. As time goes by, the innovation is improved, and more people buy it or adopt it. The innovation's growth is sustained using incremental innovation, which usually means improvement in performance, reduction in price, and addition of features. Or in the case of a mobile app or software, for example, it gets periodic updates and bug fixes and additional features at every version release. No matter how great the innovation is, at some point it will reach maturity or the end of its life, either by becoming obsolete, for example, cassette tapes or wired remote controls. Yes, at some point, remote controls had a wire. or by reaching saturation, meaning everybody has it. For example, almost everybody in the developed world now has a cell phone. When the innovation reaches maturity, a new or disruptive innovation is needed, and this creates a new S-curve. Now the trick is to time the new innovation while the older innovation is in its growth phase. In this way, by the time the older innovation reaches maturity, the new innovation is already in its growth phase. This ensures that companies that depend on innovation have steady and sustainable growth. Let's use a practical example to further illustrate the S-curve by considering the way we listen to music. At some point, personal music listening became very popular with the introduction of the Walkman. This used magnetic tape cassettes. You may be too young to remember that, but I had a Walkman, and I could listen to music while on the go. And wow, what a liberating and revolutionary concept it was. Of course, times have changed. Then came the CD and the MP3 format. And all of a sudden, you can store hundreds of times more music, and you don't need to forward and rewind to get to the song you want. That was a disruptive innovation. And before long, nobody used cassette tapes anymore. They were obsolete, as the CD has replaced it. The CD has been improved in terms of its capacity and fidelity, and the DVD came about, which had much higher capacities. But we could still say that the DVD was an incremental innovation from CD. Then the MP3 player arrives, popularized by the famous iPod. Again, this was a disruptive innovation. MP3 players disrupted CDs, and now listening to music on CDs is really in its dying days. The iPod was not revolutionary because it was the first MP3 player on the market. Actually, there were many other existing, very good MP3 players at the time. But the disruption came about by the combination of iPod and iTunes, which created a new music listening experience and a new business model to monetize the music listening experience. Today, we find abundant innovations that continually redefine how we listen to music. From streaming radio that plays music to match your mood, to applications that allow you to instantly find a song you are listening to or even thinking about. And we can be quite confident that both incremental and disruptive innovations will continue to redefine the music listening experience. Wonderful. You now have a much better understanding of innovation, and that all innovations have a life cycle represented by the S-curve, and that technology evolves through the emergence of new S-curves. When it came to creativity, we were cautious not to define it. However, we can define innovation as the process of continually realizing a desired and improved future state through incremental and disruptive innovation. So remember, innovation loves creativity. You can't have innovation without creativity. And innovation requires creative individuals working in creative teams and supported by structures and processes that support collaboration and that are working together towards a shared vision. So next time you hear someone use the terms innovation and creativity interchangeably, you can humbly point out the difference to them. Stay engaged and innovative, and see you in the next video.